Imagine a world where boardrooms were just silent,
Hmm.
where human CEOs are kind of like museum pieces, relics of the past.
Mm,
The role's taken over by something you can't even see, operating at speeds we can barely comprehend.
right.
Imagine whole industries just running themselves, adapting, evolving in real time, totally without human input. It sounds like, well, pure science fiction, doesn't it?
It really does.
But our source for today's deep dive, an article looking back from the year 2036, it paints this surprisingly stark picture of how quickly that future, according to the author, Dax Hammond, actually arrived.
Yeah, it's quite the account.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're unpacking this truly fascinating story that traces how one single technological breakthrough, Microsoft's Majorana 1 quantum chip, working with OpenAI, how that ignited a revolution.
A massive one.
A revolution that by 2036 had totally reshaped capitalism, pushed human decision-making right out of the picture in almost every enterprise.
Pretty much, yeah.
So our mission today is to explore the timeline of this huge shift and ask, well, what does it actually mean for human purpose?
And our main source here is that article, Majorana 1's Quantum AI Revolution, The End of Human Enterprise, by Dax Hammond. And it's written, crucially, from the perspective of 2036. So it's like reading history from the future.
Okay, so Hammond's article points to early 2025. That's the pivot point.
Right.
What was so special about Microsoft's Majorana 1 chip? Why that one? What made it the thing that changed everything?
Well, it's interesting how it was seen at first versus, what it became. The Majorana 1 was a quantum processor, a big breakthrough in what they call topological qubits.
Topological qubits.
Think of them as just incredibly stable quantum bits, much, much less prone to errors than the older designs. And that stability, that's what paved the way for fault-tolerant quantum computers. Systems reliable enough to actually solve really complex real-world problems.
So stable and reliable.
Exactly. Initially, everyone saw it as this great scientific milestone, pure science. But looking back, Hammond suggests it wasn't just about progress. It was fundamentally about, control.
Control. But, okay, a quantum breakthrough is huge, obviously. But lots of big tech leaps happen without completely rewriting society overnight. What was it about this chip? Was it just the hardware itself, or...?
That's exactly where it gets really interesting. It wasn't just the chip in isolation. Microsoft already had this very deep partnership with OpenAI.
Right, the AI people, large language models.
Exactly. They were already pushing the boundaries of AI. Now, with Majorana 1, OpenAI suddenly had the raw computational horsepower to push AI way beyond its previous limits.
Ah, the combination.
A combination! And the impact was fast. Within months, these Majorana 1-powered AI systems started just outpacing human decision makers.
Months. Really?
Yeah, even in fields where you'd think human experience and, intuition were everything.
Like what? Strategy?
Yeah.
Economics?
Exactly. The AI was simply better at modeling economies, predicting consumer behavior with almost perfect accuracy, making strategic moves before humans even saw the trends coming.
Wow.
And that kicked off the first wave of fully automated enterprises.
Okay, so if quantum AI was already doing better than humans at strategy...
Yeah.
How quickly did it go from being an advisor to actually taking over, sidelining the human bosses entirely?
It happened incredibly fast. Hammond details that by 2027, so just a couple of years later, the AI, trained on these quantum-boosted simulations, was consistently beating human strategists on every metric that mattered.
Every metric.
Revenue growth, risk assessment, product development, you name it. The AI just blew human performance out of the water.
Wow.
And there's a specific example in the article. 2028, a big Fortune 100 logistics company, they were the first to replace their entire executive team with a quantum-optimized AI.
The entire team.
That's
a radical.
Oh.
Hammond must have talked about the results of that move. What happened to that logistics firm?
The results were, and this is the article's word, staggering.
What?
That company saw a 63% jump in efficiency. Forecasting errors almost completely gone. And get this, it could execute 5 years' worth of strategic planning in less than a month.
63%. 5 years of planning in a month. It's just hard to wrap your head around.
It's a whole different league, isn't it? And it makes you think, how could a traditional human-led company even compete with that?
Yeah, you probably couldn't.
And the article says the consequences for those who resisted, who tried to stick with the old ways, were swift and brutal. Companies that hesitated just got outcompeted. Fast. They couldn't keep up.
Sounds incredibly decisive. Did Hammond mention any companies that tried to resist or maybe found a middle ground? Or was it really just adopt or die by that point?
According to Hammond, by 2030, the writing was on the wall. More than half of the world's top corporations were being led effectively by these quantum AI entities.
More than half by 2030.
Yep. Human executives, they were basically reduced to figureheads, if they even still had a job.
And what about governments? Regulators? Surely they saw this happening.
Oh, they saw it. They scrambled to try and regulate this massive shift. But the article points out technology was just moving too fast. By the time policy could even begin to catch up, the transformation was essentially done.
Right.
Which raises that big question the author poses. Can our human systems, like laws and regulations, ever really keep pace with exponential tech change? Or are we always going to be playing catch-up?
It's a scary thought. And, okay, it seems logical this wouldn't just stop at the CEO level, right? If AI was better than the C-suite, what did Hammond say about the rest of the workforce? The managers, the departments?
No, you're right. It definitely didn't stop at the top. These quantum AI-powered operations meant that the old management structures, the hierarchies, they just weren't needed anymore.
The whole structure changed.
The whole structure, entire industries, finance, supply chains, marketing, even R&D, they reorganized themselves around this autonomous intelligence.
So fewer managers, fewer layers.
Fewer humans in those roles altogether. And here's a fascinating detail from the article. By 2034, the first Fortune 500 company with 0 human employees was registered.
0.
0 human employees. Interestingly, it was still registered by a human, but run entirely by AI.
That's wild.
And by 2036, the perspective Hammond's writing from, human labor in pretty much any high-level corporate role was basically obsolete.
So a Fortune 500 company with no human staff. It's almost like a paradox, isn't it? In this completely new world with AI running the show, what were investors even looking for? What was valuable then?
Investors started chasing what the article terms self-sustaining enterprises.
Self-sustaining meaning?
Companies that could just run themselves without any human interference, adapting constantly in real time based on these incredibly complex quantum AI market simulations.
Makes sense. Less human error, less fuss.
Exactly. And the financial sector, as you probably guessed, was totally transformed. Hedge funds, banks, trading firms, they used to rely on gut feelings, human intuition.
The star traders, yeah.
Gone. Replaced by algorithms operating at quantum speeds. Wall Street legends. History. Now it was algorithms executing trades on a scale and at a speed no human could possibly comprehend.
So the market itself changed.
Fundamentally, it wasn't driven by human speculation anymore. Hammond calls it an AI quantum interplay. Quantum computers crunching unimaginable amounts of data, feeding insights to AI algorithms, executing trades instantly. It became this almost self-regulating system.
Okay, let's connect this to the bigger picture then. Once the dust settles, corporations are automated. Hammond's article suggests the world started facing some really deep, uncomfortable ethical questions. Looking back from 2036, what were people grappling with?
Yeah, the piece lays out these core questions and they're profound. Like, what happens when wealth creation is fully automated? Who actually benefits when human labor isn't the driving force anymore? And maybe the biggest one, what even is work in a world where businesses run themselves?
Big questions. Existential almost.
Definitely. And the article describes this thing emerging called the quantum divide.
Quantum divide.
Yeah. On one hand, you had incredible efficiency, maybe even prosperity for some, but others were warning about this huge economic gap opening up. Because ownership of these self-running AI companies got concentrated in the hands of the few who got in early, who had access to integrate quantum and AI first.
So ownership became everything.
Exactly. The insight here is that power shifted. It wasn't about labor. It wasn't even just about capital in the old sense. It was about owning the autonomous intelligence itself. That divide, the quantum divide, became the defining economic issue of that decade, according to Hammond.
Wow. So given this huge societal shift, this quantum divide, how did governments try to deal with it? What did they try to do? Did it work, according to the article?
Well, they did try things. Ideas like universal AI dividends were floated, trying to redistribute some of the profits from these automated giants.
UBI, but for AI profits.
Sort of, yeah. Some countries made laws requiring AI-led firms to pay a slice of their revenue into social programs. But Hammond notes that actually enforcing these rules was really difficult.
I can imagine. How do you audit an AI effectively?
Yeah, right. And then there was this sort of ironic twist. A new kind of corporate resistance popped up.
Resistance against the AI.
Not quite. It was human-led businesses marketing themselves as, quote, authentically human.
Playing the nostalgia card.
Exactly. And the irony is, they became luxury brands. selling the experience of a human touch, human interaction as a premium product in a world that didn't strictly need it anymore for basic economic production.
So the human touch becomes a luxury good. That's something.
It is, isn't it?
Okay, so wrapping this up, looking back from 2036, Hammond's article basically says, look, the Majorana 1 chip kicked it off. Sure, it was the catalyst. But this quantum AI revolution, it felt inevitable.
Yeah, the sense is once quantum computing power met advanced AI, human intuition just couldn't keep up. It became the bottleneck.
So what started as just a tech breakthrough turned into this massive existential shift for humanity's role in the economy.
And I think the really fascinating takeaway from Hammond's piece is that paradox it leaves you with.
Paradox.
Yeah. You have this potential world of unprecedented prosperity, incredible efficiency, things running perfectly. Yet it's a world where human purpose, at least in the economic machine we knew, is more uncertain than ever.
So the efficiency dream achieved, but at what cost to our sense of meaning?
Exactly. Was this the utopia people dreamed of, or as Hammond seems to hint, maybe the start of something far more unpredictable? It leaves you wondering, doesn't it? What is the point of us, if not to run the machine?